Illinois may soon ban junk fees. Right now, we often see a listed price, especially when we shop online. Then when we go to pay, fees are often tacked on. A bill in Illinois' House would require the full pre-tax price up front. Supporters say the fees can typically add between 20 and 30% in prices. And the bill's sponsor says that's unfair to consumers.
This is basically a disclosure bill. It's basically making sure that a consumer has the information they need to be able to choose whether or not to buy something or not. Because right now we're being deceived. There are these hidden fees that they're putting on the check after we've already eaten our food, after we've already purchased a product, and it can't continue.
Now, the legislation exempts tips, taxes, and shipping fees.